Okay, we are now on to part 3 of the Unity Maze Game project. So I'm going to go back over here to level 1 right here. And I'm actually going to go to my asset store and I'm going to type this thing in called Skybox. Okay, so I'm going to add in, because right now when I play the game, the ground kind of looks cool, but the sky looks really bad. So there are lots of this 2D texture material sky. I'm going to actually click on that right here to just, oops, I'm going to click on this sky right here to just really narrow down. Now notice some of these are free, but a lot of them are not. So I'm just going to find a free one right here. This one looks pretty cool, but you kind of have to watch out. The Starfield one. This one, look at the file size on this one, 298 megabytes. That is not going to fit on your it's not going to fit on your U drive, unfortunately. You only have about 100 megabytes left. But something like, I think this one right here, if you look, this one's 18 megabytes, so this one will fit fine, and I'm sure that you can find others. I'm going to use this one right here. So I hit download this skybox right here. Okay, and it's decrypting, and then I hit the import button, and now I need to import this, and I need to import all of them, so I just hit the all button and then hit import. Give this a second, and this will go ahead and these are just basically Photoshop items. So now if I look under my assets, I have this sky box right there. I'm actually going to drag this folder into my materials folder because these are different types of materials right here. Um, uh, so I can double click on materials, my skybox is in there. So now how do I make it so that I see the skybox when I play the game? Because right now you just notice it's kind of like a blue sky up there. It's not really good. So I'm going to come back to scene, actually click on this FPS controller right here, and then I click on my first person controller right here, and I click down here to add component, and I type in skybox. Okay, so I see my custom skybox right there. Now double click on Skybox right there, and I should be able to just kind of this sky. I think I can. Uh, if I double click on this, I think it's that gear right there. There we go. Now I need to type in that Skybox. It's the sky start day thing right there. Can double click on that and you'll notice that that applies. I could also double click on Skybox right here and just drag this into there. Okay, so now let's take a look at what that looks like. It's going to create a much cooler like a much cooler like look up there. Okay, for my sky. So there's lots of different skyboxes that you can find. You can find them in the asset store. You can also kind of find them on Google. So if I type in like night skybox, okay, and I click on images right here, a lot of times they'll just be like kind of cool images. Now notice like we kind of want something that looks a little bit, this actually might look pretty good, but it gets stretched out when you're looking at the image. So but something like this actually might look good for the night. So we'll apply this and so you can see what it looks like. So I'm gonna save this image as, I'm just gonna save mine to my desktop right here. I'm gonna come back over to Unity, and I'm gonna go to materials, and then I'm gonna go to assets, import new asset, and I need to find what I just downloaded right there. I need to import that image right there, and that image, I'm going to drag that into my materials folder just for organizational purposes. Now I already like the skybox that's on this level 1 right here. I like that, but let's go to like level 2. So if I go to assets, scenes, level 2, oh, yes, we want to make sure that we save. And then I click on my first person controller right here. Make sure that you click on that first person character, add skybox right there. And then the material that we're going to add for this one, I think I put it under materials. And I just need to drag that image onto that material right here. So sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't, unfortunately. What did I call that? I called that click right there. This one's called B4. So it looks like this material didn't import properly, unfortunately. So it looks like I won't be able to use this one as a skybox. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove this one. But you can find skyboxes on Google. I'll just go to the assets store, skybox. A lot of times actually searching. Let me hit the back button. A lot of times if you just hit sky right here, you can get some pretty good ones. There's some, in this one right here, I think that these are relatively small in size. Yeah, 16 megabytes, and this actually comes with a bunch right here. So I'll download these and use these skyboxes right here for my different levels. Again, I hit import, import. Give this a second. Alright, so that one imported. If I click over here in assets, it looks like that it imported right here to the skybox. So I'm going to actually drag that to the materials. And then I'll come back over here. I can even click on game or scene. Click on that first person controller. Double click on materials. Double click on skybox. If I click, sometimes it's just easier to access them this way. I think it was called like skybox. There we go. So now we have two more. This one's like more of like a daytime thing. So let's take a look at this one when I apply it. Yeah, nice cloudy day. And then I had one more scene file, save scenes. So I have one more scene right here that I need to make sure that I apply a skybox to. So I'll go to my level 3 first person controller, add component, add this skybox in here, and I'll add that other one. Just kind of give a different look to each one of these. Looks like this one's going to be a sunset. So when I play, you get a nice sunset up there. Okay, so I got my skyboxes. Make sure we go File, Save Scenes. Again, my level 2 and level 3 are not very good. I didn't apply a nice background and stuff to them, but, or I'm sorry, I like materials and textures for the ground, but that's something that you definitely should do. Okay, so now that we've done that, now I need to create some things, because when I play this, the terrain and the sky, that all looks very cool, but like, how do I add in things in here? So, first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to right click in here. Well, let's go to my first person controller. So I'm just going to double click on where my first person controller starts. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so I can kind of see. Maybe I'll move him down so I can just kind of see like where on the ground he starts and he starts looking at. And then I'm going to right click in here and I'm going to create a 3D object, and I'm just going to create a cube right here. I'm going to bring this cube up. Let's go ahead and click on this button right there, and we can kind of scale it right there. Okay, and I'm going to move this cube kind of into the earth a little bit. Okay, move that cube into the earth a little bit. So it's pretty much all inside the earth there. And then I'm going to resize this thing. Just kind of make a platform right here almost. Alright, so now this is like when I play this game, you'll see like I start and I got this white box that's right in front of me, right? But when I can hit Y to jump, so now I got like this white box. This white box really needs like a little bit of a look too. Plus maybe I brought this guy down a little bit too far. I kind of like my players to drop when they start. So let's look for materials. So a lot of times when we're looking for materials, I'm going to type in brick texture right here. A lot of times when we're looking for materials, you want to make sure that you include the word texture in it. That's going to give you like a front view of what you're looking for. So if we just like searched for brick, a lot of times like we're going to get like these right here. That's not going to give us a good image to apply to an object. So make sure that you type in the word texture. Alright, and I'll just kind of find a random texture on here. You want to make sure that you have a decent amount of bricks, because this pattern's going to be repeated over and over and over again. So, I don't know, something actually that looks like this, actually, it looks pretty good. So just go ahead and save this image now. I'll save mine to my desktop and import it. So now that I have that, I'm going to go to Assets. I'm actually going to click on Assets right there, Assets, Import New Asset, and I need to find that brick texture that I downloaded. And then I need to make sure that I drag this into my materials so that it's right there in my materials. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this and I'm going to drag it right onto the cube. So now my cube kind of has this brick look. So if we click on this and we the material right here, the size, we can sometimes change the size of this. Notice if I type in like standard. No, that's basically what we want. We want to make sure that that's on there. You can change some of these things, but I wouldn't really mess around with any of those. Now notice the texture on the side isn't very good. This isn't a 3D animation class, okay? So like we're not doing you can modify that, obviously. It's called UVW mapping, but we're not going to be doing any of that. But still, having this on here looks pretty good. But what I might want to do is just I can resize this a little bit. Okay, so if I resize this, okay, I can kind of get like what looks like a good brick kind of facade. So that looks a little bit more normal right there. So alright, so now I have this kind of brick object right here. So now in terms of making a maze for this, you can, let's add one more object in here. Let's kind of practice this. So I'm going to go to Create Object. I'll create another cube right here. Okay, let's resize this thing. This will be kind of like right on the side. And this is going to be like, I'm going to make this actually pretty big right here. Kind of a big 3D cube. It's pretty giant compared to this other one, but that's okay. You'll kind of see what I'm doing here in a second. So I'm just going to kind of line these two things up right there. Now, rather than looking for brick texture, I'm going to look for building texture, and I can kind of get a 3D building right here. Okay, so maybe something like, kind of depends. Some of these are kind of hard to find, but I don't know. Maybe something that looks like this. This might work for me. Actually, this one might be cooler. Just kind of like windows. So, oh, but I don't like that white right down there at the bottom. Let's see here. Let me find a different building. I'll just use this one right here. So right click, save image as. I'm going to save this image right here. Come back to Unity, Assets, Import New Asset. Find that building thing right there. Drag that to my materials. Double click on materials so I see that building right there. Now this one, this cube right here, I'm just going to go ahead and I can right click on it and click rename. We want to call this one like my building. Okay, and I drag the building material onto that. Let's kind of make this bigger right here. Alright, so now when I play this, now notice like it's not visible at all, but then when I hit it, like it's not working right now. Okay, so what happened right there is that it could be a couple things. Number one, the material that I used might just not work. Number two, it might be because of like the size that I made this. Or number three, which it actually was, my character actually started inside of the building, which was not good. So you want to make sure that your character does not start within any of these things. So I'm actually going to move this building around right here. You want to make sure this, when I click on that first person controller, make sure that that is not within any of these things. So I can resize this thing up, kind of make, now obviously this doesn't look great, right? But you know, this is not like a graphic arts class. This is or a 3D animation class. This is just you know, programming class. So for us to be able to make like a brick thing right here, let's see if I can jump onto this somehow. There we go, and then I got a building right here. That's pretty good with a shadow right there. Okay, so what you want to start thinking about is how are you going to design a maze? Because ultimately, towards the end of this, that's what this is going to be. You're going to have to design some type of maze that somebody can get around. Now, don't think of a maze like, there's brick walls on all sides and you have to run around to find a ring. Yes, that is one type of maze, but another type of maze that a lot of students choose to do is like a platform maze where you have to jump from one platform to another. So now that I've already created this one cube right here, I can actually drag in another cube. So I can right click on this thing and I can duplicate this, and then I can click on the move, and I can move this and it'll duplicate that. So I can and then I can maybe resize this thing down a little bit here. So what I can do is I can just try to create maybe some stairs right here, kind of going up to the top of this. Okay, so now that I have that, I'll go ahead and duplicate that one. Kind of move this over. Kind of have this maybe kind of connected right there. We'll see if somebody can make that, and then maybe duplicate this, and maybe have this kind of come over and up. Okay, so I'm not going to do this for all of these, but you can kind of see what I'm doing now. So I have this one, and it's kind of hard to jump onto this box, but I can kind of jump right there. And then I'll jump right there over here, jump onto this box right here. Oh, so I don't know if that's possible to make or not, but what I would do is I would kind of make a ring around this building to be able to get to the top of the building, and then on the top of the building maybe I'd have a ring or something that would propel me to the next level. Now I'm going to talk about scripts on how to move from one level to the next in the future. This one was all about just applying skyboxes and materials to this. But yeah, so you just want to start to design some type of a maze. It can be like you can have walls on both sides, or maybe you have to jump up, but think about a maze, some type of environment where your player can run and jump around to. Okay, this is part 3. Let me know if you have any questions.